This video discusses an extremely sensitive issue. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello, 'tis I, Fat Cow. This was not the video I had any intention of making today, but it is a video I felt like I needed to make. This video is a response to a post I read on Twitter. The tweet reads, "So, name redacted, said in a stream that Foodie Beauty is a victim of child SA. Well, I think she was 16, and that's probably why she is the way she is. Wrong. SA of any kind doesn't turn you into a grifting psychopath, an animal abuser, and an abuser in general." Now, we've all seen the revenge movies, the trope. Woman gets mistreated at the hands of a man or a group of men and goes on a murderous rampage as a result, exacting revenge in the most grisly, ghastly way possible. And it's a trope that on a certain level we might find some, well, let's say a lack of compassion for the instigators of the initial mistreatment, and the woman is seen as a hero of sorts. Well, the thing is, the trope is a trope. Most women's response to being mistreated is not to go on a murderous spree. And much in the same vein, this tweet, the first part, where somebody is justifying that particular individual's behaviour, characteristics, nature, on an event, or be it a short or long-term drawn-out event that happened in their earlier years, as being the cause, or at the very least a justification or excuse for how they've behaved since then. Now, I am not going to look into statistics because there are no statistics when it comes to victims of mistreatment at a younger age, or just mistreatment at any age and subsequent less favourable behaviours, let's say. There is no direct, correlation, let's say. You could argue that a lot of people on My £600 Life, for example, express mistreatment in their formative years and claim that their turning to food was as a result. But that's vastly different from being an objectively unpleasant person and possibly claiming that mistreatment is the result of that. The only example I can give is my own. Now, anyone that has followed me for any length of time knows that I was in a long-term relationship with an individual that's best described as a narcissist, a mistreating narcissist at that. But this is not the incident of mistreatment I'm going to be talking about, because unfortunately I have found myself throughout my life the victim of a certain type of mistreatment at the hands of various individuals. When I was 16, I took a job at a supermarket that I did 2 evenings a week and all day on Saturday in conjunction with my my GCSEs. And the assistant manager at that shop was probably a good 10 years older than myself. Now, I'm not going to go into details. Let's just say it was a frequent abuse of power by my assistant manager that happened over the duration of a couple of months. That was of a physically invasive nature, let's say. I left that job, got another job, fine. Nothing at the other job happened. Everything was, you know, whatever's carried on. I was very naive individual, and also, to be honest, this was in the very late 80s, and if you watched entertainment at the time, the dynamics between men and women in the workplace were portrayed very differently. If you think about Benny Hill and things like that. And so at the time, I didn't give it as much weight as it should have been given. Now, when I was 18, my virginity was taken from me at a party when I was barely conscious as a result of an excessive amount of alcohol. At the time, again, things of that nature that happen between peers wasn't seen for what it was. It was something that boys of that age did to girls of that age at parties. And again, I didn't give it didn't strike me as being as bad as it was. Again, because of what we were told at the time. It was just something that happened at school. I wasn't the first person that this individual had done this to. I personally knew of 2 others it had happened to, and they also didn't think it was necessarily as serious as it actually is. So be grateful times have changed, because it did affect me retrospectively and pretty much dictated my behaviour of a physical nature up to this day, to be honest. Additionally, there have been a couple of other incidences where, let's just say, I have been taken advantage of as a when I have been compromised due to alcohol, and so my experience of SA is unfortunately well, I just have experience, let's just say. I can't compare myself to others. As we know, a lot goes unreported, and I'd imagine that during the period of time when I was a teenager and young adult, it was probably pretty a pretty common occurrence, given how society viewed ladies who drank to excess and what happened to them, let's say. And again, we should be grateful that things have changed. Now, the reason I'm saying these things, also on a slightly, well, it's probably equally as serious if you think about it, note, as a preteen and a young teen, there was many a time I was inappropriately touched by a peer, therefore somebody my own age, me being 12, them being 12, 13, that sort of thing, by a male peer in a cupboard, being pressed up against, let's say, or having various body parts touched for fun. And that also was just seen as boys being boys. So my experience of inappropriate mistreatment has started from the age of, I'd say, 11 onwards. Now, the reason I say these things is not because I'm trying to gain any sympathy whatsoever. I'm just matter of factly telling you that I have experienced we wouldn't call it a fair share because fair is not the word for it, but my share of mistreatment, not including a different type of mistreatment later on in life. Now, there have been certain individuals defending the behaviour of other individuals, stating that their behaviour is a result of intimate mistreatment in their past, and that we should be more forgiving of the things that they currently do and the things that they have done. I'm making this video to say, because the thing is, I can only speak for myself and how I've behaved as a human being in the aftermath of all these things that has happened to me. And I can quite safely say, without any arrogance or pride or being particularly boastful, that despite what has happened to me in the past, hopefully I'm not an arsehole. I'm not an abusive arsehole. I don't take advantage of people. I am not manipulative. My past, what has happened to me, has affected me. But every negative personality trait, every negative whatever that has occurred as a result of these things has been directed inwards towards myself, and any damage as an indirect result of these incidences has always been directed at me. Foodie Beauty and Anne Boleyn Reid are legitimately unpleasant people. They've had some crap shit and bad things happen to them, but that is not what has made them bad people. Between the two of them, they have pretty much every personality disorder, in my opinion, known to man. They were also raised in arguably dysfunctional environments and have chosen certain pathways, let's say, that have contributed to their unpleasantness. But the fact that they have been intimately mistreated by individuals does not give them an excuse to be unpleasant people. It's not a justification for being unpleasant, and doesn't give them a free pass to being unpleasant. Shit things happen to people. It doesn't mean that as a result you should pay forward the shit that's been done to you. Stop using intimate mistreatment as some kind of excuse for being an absolute shit to other people. In the same way, you shouldn't use your mental health as an excuse for being a shit individual, or your history as an excuse for being a shit individual. At most, any of these things offer some degree of an explanation as to why you're shit, but it doesn't excuse it, it doesn't justify it. So enough of this nonsense. Shit people are shit people because they choose to be shit people, regardless of history and experience. And that's it. That's all I have to say. I needed to get this off my chest because, quite frankly, the victims of intimate mistreatment should be given more credit for surviving the incidences and not to be portrayed as this revenge trope nonsense where the murder of people as a result is justified. Most people, the majority of people, go on to hurt themselves in some way, not other people. Or at very least, that's my experience. Stop stereotyping us. Stop putting us in a box and give us credit for being individuals with our own mind, please. Thank you.